The motel door burst open so hard it slammed against the wall. "You've got exactly 5 minutes," the manager barked. 5. After that, your stuff goes out with the trash. Naomi Carter scrambled off the edge of the stiff mattress, heart slamming against her ribs as she grabbed for the single suitcase on the floor. Her hands were shaking so badly the zipper kept snagging. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Another message from Victor. She didn't even need to read it. She already knew. "You're on your own." She swallowed the lump in her throat, fighting the sting behind her eyes. 5 minutes. That was all her life was worth now. 3 days earlier, she'd been standing inside a marble-floored living room that used to be hers, listening to the man she gave 12 years of her life tell her she had nothing left. No home. No money. No claim to anything. "Be grateful I'm letting you take your clothes," Victor had said, his voice flat, surgical. "You signed the papers. You're done." Now she was being kicked out of a roach-infested motel with $42 in her wallet and nowhere to go. If this story pulls at you even a little, tap that like button right now and subscribe, because what happens next will flip everything upside down. Naomi dragged the suitcase down the narrow steps and out into the gray morning. The air was cold. The kind that cuts through thin jackets and settles into bone. She stood there for a moment, staring at the wet pavement like her life had hit a dead end. Her phone buzzed again. "Unknown number. Try the old bank card." "It's not empty." Her breath hitched. That card. Her father's card. She hadn't thought about it in 17 years. Her father, Samuel Carter, had died with nothing to his name. Or so everyone believed. Janitor job. Tiny apartment. Patchy boots. Hands rough from mops and tools. The man who taught her to do math on a chalkboard he found in the trash. The man who packed her lunch in paper bags. Before he died, he'd pressed an old, chipped bank card into her palm. "Keep this," he'd whispered. "For when things fall apart." She'd tried to use it once after he passed. It had declined. She assumed it was sentimental nonsense. A dead account. A memory. She tucked it away and moved on with her life. Now life had completely fallen apart. Naomi pulled the frayed card from the deepest pocket of her wallet, staring at the faded numbers like they might disappear. "You better not be lying," she whispered to the empty street. Westfield Financial was massive. Glass walls. Chrome pillars. Polished floors that reflected her worn sneakers like an accusation. She almost turned around at the entrance, convinced they would laugh her right out of the building. The teller smiled politely. "How can I help you today?" Naomi slid the card across the counter. I need to check the balance." The teller inserted it. Typed. Paused. Her polite smile cracked. She blinked at her screen. Then refreshed. Then froze. "I'm going to need my supervisor," she said slowly. Naomi's stomach dropped. "It doesn't work, does it?" The woman didn't answer. She just walked away quickly. Minutes passed. People in suits whispered nearby. A gray-haired man approached, eyes fixed on Naomi like she might vanish. "Ms. Carter," he asked quietly. "I'm Daniel Brooks, branch manager. Would you come with me, please?" Her legs felt numb as she followed him into a private office. The door shut softly behind them. Daniel sat across from her and folded his hands. "Before I say anything, I need to confirm your identity." She slid her ID forward. He studied it, typed again, then leaned back slowly. "Ms. Carter," he said, voice tight, "you are the sole beneficiary of an active trust account." Her throat went dry. "How much is in it?" He hesitated. "Say it," she whispered. $47 million. The room tilted. Naomi laughed once. A broken sound. "That's not funny." "I assure you," Daniel said quietly, "it's real." Her hands pressed flat against the desk to keep from falling. "My father was a janitor," she said. "He died broke." Daniel's eyes softened. "Your father owned land. Or rather, the rights to profits from it. He sold those rights with a long-term agreement. That land eventually became a commercial tower. 5% of all profits were paid into this trust for you. He never accessed a single cent." Tears spilled freely now. "He never told me. He structured the trust so no spouse, creditor, or family member could ever touch it," Daniel said. It was invisible unless you held that card. Naomi's knees buckled. 17 years. 17 years of struggle. Of debt. Of scraping by. All while $47 million waited for her. "You're certain?" she whispered. Daniel turned the screen toward her. The numbers looked fake. Unreal. Like something from a movie. But they were there. Her phone began vibrating violently. Victor. She ignored it. Daniel leaned in. "Miss Carter, I must also inform you that someone attempted to locate this account 3 months ago. Through legal probing." Her blood turned to ice. "Who?" Daniel met her eyes. "Your ex-husband." The betrayal cut deeper than anything before. Victor had known. Or at least suspected. He hadn't just left her. He had hunted her. Outside the bank, Naomi leaned against the wall as the weight of it all crashed down on her at once. The eviction. The motel. The card. The money. The lies. The timing. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. "For when things fall apart." Her phone rang again. This time she answered. Victor didn't even pretend to be kind. "So," he said, smooth and cold, "I hear you went to the bank." Her fingers tightened around the phone. "You followed me. Don't flatter yourself." "I've been following that card for months," he replied. "Now we both know what's in there." "You filed for divorce knowing about this," she said, voice shaking. "Of course I did," Victor chuckled. "You think I'd leave anything to chance?" Her chest felt crushed. "You destroyed me on purpose." Silence. Then, calmly, "You signed everything. The money is protected, yes. Legally unreachable. But come on, Naomi. You didn't even know it existed. You owe me for the years I carried you." Her hands shook with rage. "You cheated on me. You emptied our accounts. You threw me on the street. And now you're rich," he said lightly. "Funny how life balances out. Let's talk." "No," she said. He laughed. "You'll call me back." The line went dead. Naomi stared at the phone as the truth fully settled in. Victor wasn't done with her. And neither was her family. If you're still watching right now, drop a comment with the word strength, because what Naomi faces next will test her in ways money alone can't solve. She didn't go back to the motel. She walked until her legs burned and rented the cheapest month-long studio she could find with cash from the bank. She slept on the floor that night, staring at the ceiling with trembling hands. $47 million. And still, she felt hunted. She didn't know it yet, but the moment Victor made that call, a war had already begun. And it would change every single person in her life. Naomi barely slept. Every time her eyes closed, she saw Victor's face on the other end of that call, calm, certain, already reaching for what he believed would be his. By morning, her head throbbed and her chest felt tight, but one truth was clear: she could not face this alone. She found the lawyer through a trembling internet search and a same-day emergency appointment that cost more than the rent on her new studio. His name was Marcus Hale. Late 40s. Sharp eyes. No wasted words. He listened without interrupting as Naomi laid everything out. The divorce. The eviction. The card. The trust. Victor's call. When she finished, he leaned back slowly. "Your ex-husband failed," he said. "Spectacularly." Naomi let out a shaky laugh that collapsed into a sob. "He hunted me like I was hiding gold. He suspected. He couldn't prove. And now that the money is confirmed, he'll escalate," Marcus said. "Threats first. Then manipulation. Then legal harassment." Naomi wiped her face. "Can he take it from me?" "No," Marcus said firmly. "This trust is airtight. Your father built a legal fortress around you. But that doesn't mean you're safe from pressure." "Pressure I can handle," she said. "What I can't handle is being powerless again." Marcus studied her for a moment. "Then your first move is silence. You tell no one. Not friends. Not relatives. No emotional leaks. Anyone you tell becomes a weapon in someone else's hands." Naomi swallowed. "My sister already knows." Marcus's eyes sharpened. "How?" "She texted me last night. Out of nowhere. Said she heard things." Marcus exhaled slowly. "Then the second this money became real, your life became public." Naomi's phone buzzed on the desk as if summoned. Judith's name flashed across the screen. Her sister. Her chest tightened. She hasn't spoken to me in 6 years. Marcus nodded once. Answer it on speaker. Naomi hesitated, then tapped accept. Judith's voice slid through the room, sweet as sugar and just as dangerous. Naomi? Oh my God, I've been so worried about you. I can't believe what Victor did to you. Naomi stared at the phone. How did you hear about the money? A pause. Too long. Then, lightly, word travels. From where? Naomi pressed. Judith sighed. From people who care about you. That's funny, Naomi said quietly. Because you left when Mom died and never looked back. Judith's tone hardened. That was complicated. So is this, Naomi replied. What do you want? Another pause. Then the mask slipped. I want what's fair, Judith said. Dad was my father too. Naomi's chest burned. You disowned him when he lost his job. When his back gave out. I stayed. That's not how I remember it, Judith snapped. It doesn't matter how you remember it, Naomi said, voice shaking. It matters what he chose. And he chose me. Judith's voice went cold. You think keeping all that money makes you righteous? It makes you selfish. Naomi felt the old ache in her chest, the familiar guilt clawing its way up. For a second, she almost buckled. Then Marcus leaned forward and spoke calmly into the phone. Ms. Carter's legal counsel is advising her now. All future communication regarding this matter should go through my office. Judith inhaled sharply. She already lawyered up? Yes, Marcus said. That should tell you everything. The line went dead. Naomi's hands were shaking again. It's starting. It already started, Marcus said. And it's about to get brutal. By evening, it did. Victor didn't call. He showed up. Naomi was carrying groceries up the narrow stairwell when she heard his voice behind her. Still choosing the cheap life. Her body went rigid. Victor leaned against the railing, expensive suit, relaxed posture, eyes scanning her small bags like she was still his problem to audit. This is stalking, she said. No, he replied smoothly. This is closure. Her heart hammered. Get out of my way. You don't even ask how I found you, he said with a smile. You always find what you're hunting. Victor stepped closer. You really going to pretend I meant nothing to you? 12 years, Naomi. I know you. I know how guilt works you. She shoved past him. You don't know me anymore. He laughed softly. You never knew you were rich either. She unlocked her door with shaking hands. Victor's foot slid into the doorway before she could shut it. I came with an offer, he said. 10 million. Clean. Quiet. I walk away and never bother you again. Her breath caught. 10 million. The number slammed into her nervous system like poison. You want me to buy my safety? She whispered. I want you to recognize reality, Victor said. You think everyone chasing you is going to stop just because you hired a lawyer? She met his eyes. You're afraid. His smile twitched. Just barely. You've already started collapsing, she said. Victor's jaw tightened. Last chance. Naomi took a step back and slammed the door in his face. The pounding came next. Heavy. Furious. You think you won? He shouted through the wood. You don't win people like me. You survive us if you're lucky. Silence followed. For hours, Naomi sat on the floor with her back to the door, arms wrapped around her knees, shaking. If you're still with this story right now, pause for 1 second and hit that like button. Every escalation from here gets darker, and Naomi is walking straight into it. The next morning, the first lawsuit arrived. Victor challenged the divorce settlement, claiming coercion. Judith filed an inheritance petition. A distant uncle Naomi barely remembered surfaced, demanding investigation into Samuel's estate. 3 legal attacks in one day. Naomi stared at the stack of documents on Marcus's desk like a death sentence. They're trying to drown you, Marcus said. But they can't touch the trust. They can still destroy my peace, she whispered. Marcus leaned in. Only if you let them. That afternoon, Naomi did something she never thought she'd have the power to do. She bought her first building. Not a luxury high-rise. Not a trophy skyline tower. A quiet, aging 20-unit apartment complex in a struggling part of town where working families slept 3 to a room and landlords ignored broken pipes. Marcus blinked when she told him. You could buy anything you want. I know, she said. This is what I want. By nightfall, the first eviction notices Victor's company had issued to tenants in another property mysteriously vanished from the court system. Not erased. Investigated. Victor felt it immediately. His call came at midnight. "What did you do?" he demanded. "I existed," Naomi replied. "You think buying one building makes you powerful?" "No," she said softly. "It makes me awake." His voice dropped. "Then stay awake. You just accused my company without saying a word. That's war." Naomi's hands shook around the phone, but her voice was steady. "You started it 3 months before you divorced me." Silence. Then, cold and controlled, "This ends with one of us losing everything." Naomi whispered, "Then stop calling." She hung up. For the first time since the bank, she didn't feel hunted. She felt dangerous. And the people who had once crushed her had no idea what kind of woman they had just created. By the end of the week, Naomi Carter hadn't felt a single moment of peace. Every sound outside her door made her flinch. Every unknown number on her phone twisted her stomach. The lawsuits stacked up. The threats turned colder. And yet, underneath the fear, something darker and stronger was taking shape. Marcus sent her the message at 6 a.m. Victor's numbers don't add up. His company is hiding something. Naomi read it twice, heart racing. She hadn't slept. She was still sitting on the floor with her back against the couch where exhaustion finally dropped her hours earlier. She typed back with trembling fingers. What kind of something? Fraud. Big enough to bury him if proven. By noon, Naomi was sitting across from a woman she didn't recognize in the mirror. Her eyes were rimmed with red. Her posture was different. Straighter. Harder. The softness Victor once mocked had burned away. Marcus spread documents across the desk. Property sales. Loan agreements. Inspection waivers. Victor's company has been selling condemned properties as fully renovated. Families are moving into structural death traps. One fire, one collapse. And he's making millions, Naomi whispered. Yes, Marcus said. And he knows it's illegal. Naomi closed her eyes. Images flashed through her mind. Moldy walls. Broken wiring. Children sleeping under ceilings that could fall. He told me once, she murmured. He said, poor people don't sue. They survive. I thought he was joking. Marcus leaned forward. Are you willing to take him down? Her chest shook. I don't want revenge. This isn't revenge, Marcus said. This is exposure. Silence stretched. Naomi opened her eyes. Do it. That afternoon, Judith showed up without warning. Naomi opened the door to find her sister standing there in expensive heels with mascara already streaking down her cheeks. Don't, Naomi said. Don't bring tears into my home. Judith's voice cracked. They're real this time. Naomi let her in anyway. They sat across from each other in the cramped living room like strangers renting the same memory. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Judith burst. Victor came to me. Naomi's spine tightened. Of course he did. He said you were destroying everything. That you've become dangerous. He asked me to help convince you to let him go. Naomi laughed softly. It sounded broken. He cheated on me, robbed me, hunted my inheritance, and threw me into the street. Judith wiped her face. And I still came here to ask you to forgive him. Naomi stood up slowly. Why? Judith hesitated. Then whispered, because he promised me $3 million. The room went silent. Naomi felt something tear inside her. Not loudly. Quietly. Like cloth being ripped in the dark. You sold me, she said. Judith sobbed harder. I was drowning too. So was I, Naomi replied. The difference is I swam. Judith reached for her. Naomi stepped back. Get out. Judith froze. Naomi, get out of my house. When the door finally closed, Naomi slid down the wall and covered her mouth with both hands just to keep from screaming. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. This time, a video. She tapped it. The screen filled with footage of Naomi leaving Marcus's office. Angle from across the street. Night vision filter. Timestamp glowing at the bottom. Victor's message followed. Next one goes public. Her hands shook violently now. He wasn't just threatening her anymore. He was controlling the narrative. Within hours, gossip sites picked it up. Mysterious woman targets real estate mogul. Secret meetings. Sudden purchases. Shady money. Naomi's face was blurred. But Victor's name was everywhere. By nightfall, reporters waited outside her building. She stood behind the curtain, heart pounding. "He's shaping the story before the truth breaks," she whispered. Marcus's reply came fast. "Good. Let them listen to him lie first." The first tenant called the next morning. Then another. Then 12. Clara from Building 14 sobbed on the line. "They sold us poison. My son's lungs." Naomi couldn't breathe. Fire inspectors arrived at Victor's properties the same day. Then the city. Then the state. The facade cracked fast. Victor called her at midnight. His voice was no longer smooth. It trembled with rage. "You went after my tenants. You went after families," Naomi replied. "You think you're some savior now," he choked. "You're a nobody who got lucky." A calm settled over her. "No," she said softly. "I'm a woman you tried to erase." Silence. Then, quieter, more dangerous, "If my business falls, I'll take you with me." Naomi hung up. 2 days later, a man followed her from the grocery store. She noticed his footsteps matching hers. Her heart rattled violently in her chest. She ducked into a crowded cafe without thinking. He passed by without looking in. She sat there shaking for an hour. That night, alone in her apartment, Naomi broke. She collapsed onto the floor and sobbed until her ribs ached, until the weight of it all crushed her breath from her lungs. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered to the empty room. "I just wanted to live." The money hadn't made her safe. It had turned her into a target. If you're still watching this unfold, hit like right now. Naomi is about to make the most terrifying decision of her life. The investigators contacted Marcus the next morning. One of Victor's former contractors recorded him ordering falsified safety certificates. Audio proof. Naomi listened to the recording with both hands pressed over her mouth. Victor's voice poured through the speakers. "Sign it. If the walls fall later, that's tomorrow's problem." Naomi felt sick. "This goes public today," Marcus said. Victor's empire didn't collapse quietly. It detonated. News vans packed his headquarters. Licenses were suspended. Properties were red-tagged. Families evacuated in the hundreds. Lawsuits poured in faster than water through broken concrete. Naomi watched the live coverage on mute. Victor didn't call. Not once. By nightfall, an emergency petition hit Naomi's desk. Victor was trying to subpoena her, trying to drag her into court as a co-conspirator through fabricated financial ties. "They'll fail," Marcus said. "It's a desperate play." Naomi stared at the paper anyway, hands shaking. "He's not giving up." "No," Marcus said. "He's unraveling." Her phone vibrated again. This time, it was a voicemail from Victor. His voice was unrecognizable. Cracked. Broken. "They froze everything," he whispered. "You were supposed to save me. You were supposed to come back." Naomi closed her eyes. "I waited for you when I had nothing," she murmured to the empty room. "You left." For the first time since the bank, she didn't feel powerful. She felt unbearably human. And the darkest moment of her fight had finally arrived. Victor didn't disappear after the explosion. He went quiet, which was worse. The news kept looping the footage of families filing out of his buildings with bags and blankets, children wrapped in oversized jackets, reporters shoving microphones into trembling faces. Everyone saw what he had built. Everyone saw it crumble. Naomi couldn't stop watching. She felt like if she looked away, the truth would slip back into the dark where he had hidden it for years. Sleep came in jagged pieces. Every dream ended with sirens or footsteps behind her. Marcus kept his voice calm on the phone, but she could hear the strain underneath. Victor's attorneys are fighting for time. They're trying to delay the criminal filings, muddy the civil cases. It won't save him, but it can get messy. Naomi sat on the edge of her bed, arms wrapped around herself. "Messy how?" "Desperate people do desperate things," Marcus replied. "You need to increase security." "Today." She exhaled slowly. "I never wanted guards. I never wanted fear to move in with me." "It already has," Marcus said gently. "You just stopped pretending it hasn't." That afternoon, Naomi left her apartment for the first time in days. Two men followed at a discreet distance, hired protection she still hadn't emotionally accepted. Every step outside felt like walking under a spotlight. She drove past one of Victor's shuttered developments without meaning to. Yellow tape crossed the entrance. Windows were dark. The place looked hollowed out, like a giant carcass picked clean. A woman stood on the sidewalk with a stroller, staring up at the building. Naomi pulled over without thinking and rolled down the window. "Did you live here?" Naomi asked quietly. The woman nodded. Her eyes were red, not crying anymore, just emptied out. 2 years. They told us the wiring was new. My baby's room caught fire last week. Naomi's breath caught. "Is your child okay?" "Barely," the woman whispered. "Smoke damage. We lost everything else." Naomi felt something sharp twist deep in her chest. "What's your name?" "Lena." Naomi reached into her bag, pulled out her card without thinking. "Lena, listen to me. You're not alone. Not anymore. I promise." Lena looked at the card like it might vanish. "Why would you help a stranger?" Naomi swallowed. "Because someone once helped me when I didn't even know it yet." By the evening, Marcus had a list. Dozens of families. Unsafe units. Medical bills. Emergency housing. "This will cost millions," he warned. Naomi didn't hesitate. "Then spend millions." That same night, Judith tried again. She stood outside Naomi's building this time, screaming her name into the lobby intercom until security escorted her away. Naomi watched from above, unseen, heart twisting in a way money couldn't touch. Marcus's voice was steady when he called minutes later. "She's aligned with Victor's remaining legal team. They're preparing a public narrative. You as the cold sister. The rich traitor." Naomi sank onto the couch. "She already sold me once. I won't buy her back." Silence stretched. Then Marcus said, "Good. Because Victor is collapsing faster than we expected." Within 48 hours, criminal charges were filed. Fraud. Endangerment. Conspiracy. Victor didn't turn himself in. They found him hiding in a rented condo overlooking the river he once bragged he'd own the skyline above. The arrest photo hit the internet before Naomi even heard the knock on her door from Marcus. She stared at the image on her phone. Victor in handcuffs. Hair disheveled. Eyes wide and unfocused. For a moment, she felt nothing. Then the shaking started. "He looks afraid," she whispered. Marcus's reply was soft. "He should be." 3 nights later, Naomi stood alone in her apartment, lights off, city glow bleeding through the windows. Her father's old bank card lay in her palm. The same chipped corner. The same faded numbers. "All this time," she murmured. "You were protecting me without me even knowing." A memory rose uninvited. Her father kneeling by their small kitchen table, stitching the sole of his boot with thick thread. Her younger self asking why he never bought new ones. "Because something else needs the money more," he had said. She finally understood. The next morning, Naomi signed the paperwork that changed everything. She didn't announce it. Didn't call the press. Didn't post anything online. She created a foundation. Not under her name. Not under her father's. Just 2 words. Second chance. The first properties transferred into its ownership within a week. Safe units. Clean wiring. Real inspections. Rents set low enough that families could rebuild instead of just survive. The calls flooded in. Divorced women with nowhere to go. Tenants displaced by fraud. Mothers fleeing abuse. Naomi took the first call herself. Her voice shook as she spoke. "You're not begging. You're rebuilding. And we'll do it together." If you're still watching this is your moment to pause and tap that subscribe button. Because Naomi's rise isn't just about money anymore, it's about what she's about to lose to become who she's meant to be. Victor tried to reach her from jail 3 times. She declined all of them. The 4th call came with a condition. "Victim impact statement," Marcus said. "He wants to speak before sentencing." Naomi's heart pounded painfully in her chest. "I don't want to see him." "You don't have to," Marcus said. "But running from this may haunt you longer than facing it." She didn't answer right away. That night, she couldn't sleep. She saw Victor as he used to be, smiling across candlelit tables, touching her hand like she was precious. promising forever like it was a contract he planned to break from the start. By dawn, she made her decision. Judith showed up in the courtroom before Naomi did. She sat in the front row, makeup perfect, posture rigid, eyes fixed forward like she was bracing for impact. Naomi entered through the side door with Marcus. The room fell quiet. Victor was already seated in chains. He looked up. Their eyes met for the first time since the arrest. Something unreadable passed between them. No hatred. No longing. Just the wreckage of two people who had once sworn not to become enemies. When it was Victor's turn to speak, his voice shook. "I lost everything," he said. "My business. My freedom. My marriage. I was betrayed." Naomi felt the air shift in her lungs. Judith nodded faintly beside him. Then it was Naomi's turn. She stood slowly, hands trembling, every eye in the room on her. She opened her mouth. And that was the exact moment she realized how heavy forgiveness really is. The courtroom seemed to shrink around Naomi as she stood there, every breath heavy in her chest. Victor sat in chains only a few feet away, his once perfect posture now collapsed inward. The man who had once filled every corner of her life now looked smaller than her fear used to be. The judge nodded to her. "You may speak." Naomi's throat burned. For a moment, no sound came out. Then the words finally forced their way through. "I didn't come here for revenge," she said quietly. "I didn't even come here for justice. I came because I was tired of being afraid of a man who already lost." Victor's head snapped up. Judith shifted in her seat. Naomi's hands trembled, but her voice grew steadier. "You say you lost everything. But you took from people who had nothing to lose. You gambled with families. You treated lives like paperwork." Victor shook his head weakly. "You ruined me." Naomi met his eyes. "No. You ruined yourself. I just stopped covering your tracks with my silence." A murmur moved through the room. "For years," Naomi continued, "I thought strength meant enduring. Staying. Forgiving without limits. I was wrong. Strength is choosing not to become what tried to break you." Silence fell like weight. She turned slightly, her gaze landing on Judith. "And to the people who sold me for comfort. I hope the money was worth it. Because you lost me forever." Judith's face collapsed. Naomi faced forward again. "I don't forgive you today, Victor. Maybe I never will. But I also won't carry you anymore." The judge thanked her. Victor tried to speak again as guards moved closer. "Naomi, please. I loved you the only way I knew how." She paused at the door and looked back once. That was the problem. The gavel fell. Sentencing followed soon after. 15 years. Restitution. Lifetime ban from real estate. His empire officially ended not with an explosion, but with paperwork. Naomi walked out into sunlight that felt unreal on her skin. Judith chased after her on the courthouse steps. "Please," she cried. "I didn't deserve to lose my sister too." Naomi stopped once. "Only once. You lost me the moment you put a price on me." Then she walked away. 6 months passed. The Second Chance Foundation quietly became something no one could ignore. 3 apartment complexes became 8. Emergency housing turned into long-term stability. Legal aid desks filled with women clutching folders instead of suitcases. Job training centers replaced shelters where despair used to live. Naomi stopped being Victor's ex-wife in headlines. She became the woman who rebuilt what he burned. One night, long after the offices closed, Naomi sat alone at a desk covered in quiet things: lease agreements, child care vouchers, scholarship applications. A soft knock came at the door. Lena stepped inside. The same woman with the stroller. The woman whose baby nearly died in that fire. "I just wanted you to see this," Lena said, holding out a photo. It was a small boy wearing a superhero backpack, standing in front of a school bus. "He starts kindergarten tomorrow," Lena whispered. Naomi's eyes blurred. "He looks unstoppable." Lena smiled. "So do you." Some victories never make noise. Naomi finally visited her father's grave on a quiet Wednesday afternoon. No cameras. No announcements. Just her and the wind brushing through tall grass. She knelt and placed the old chipped bank card against the stone. "You were right," she murmured. "It wasn't for when I was comfortable. It was for when I was destroyed." She laughed softly through tears. You built a future with patched boots and nobody noticed. She sat there a long time. Not in grief. In gratitude. That night, Naomi moved into a modest two-bedroom apartment overlooking one of her foundation's early properties. Children played on the sidewalks she'd paid to repair. Lights glowed warmly in windows that once went dark too often. Power no longer felt loud. It felt quiet and steady. Marcus called one final time with closure. Victor tried to appeal. It failed. Naomi closed her eyes. Good. You're free now, Marcus said. She smiled faintly. I was free the moment I stopped trying to save him. Judith sent one last message weeks later. I miss you. Naomi stared at it for a long time. Then she deleted it. Not out of anger. Out of acceptance. The next foundation board meeting ran late. Volunteers filled the room. Caseworkers spoke about families moving into safe homes, women graduating training programs, children getting their first scholarships. Applause erupted without performance. Naomi stood at the back, unnoticed for a moment, watching something greater than every scar that made it. If this story stirred something in you, take 1 second right now and hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that stories about resilience, justice, and second chances deserve more space in the world. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Naomi finally opened a box she had avoided for months. Inside lay old photos. Her father smiling with crooked teeth. Her mother before illness softened her voice. Naomi herself at 10 years old, holding a handmade certificate he'd crafted for her after she won a school spelling contest. Property of a future leader, he had written in uneven ink. She pressed the photo to her chest. Victor had once told her she was nothing without him. Judith once told her she was nothing without family approval. The world once told her she was nothing without money. They were all wrong. She had been everything even when she had nothing. And now she had something far greater than $47 million. She had a purpose. Before sleep finally took her, Naomi sent one email to the foundation staff. Title, tomorrow. Message, we keep building. And they did. If this story moved you at all, subscribe for more powerful real-life inspired stories. Drop a comment with what Naomi's strength taught you, and share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to rise.